Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be on this knife, and this is the newest model or exclusive knife from Traditional Pocket Knives or Ridgerunner Cutlery. And this is the Appalachian Ridgerunner. And just a quick kind of side note on the name, I am aware that online people seem to say that the correct way to pronounce that word and the way that people that live there pronounce it is Appalachian. That's fine. I don't think I technically live in the area or that mountain range or whatever, but I live near it, and I have always pronounced it Appalachian. And I'm going to continue. And if you don't like that, that's fine. We can just move past it. If you want to imagine that I'm saying Appalachian, that's fine also. But I'm going to call this the Appalachian Ridgerunner. And so, like I said, this is the newest exclusive model from Traditional Pocket Knives. You can see the name etched on there, and then Ridgerunner Cutlery, or Ridgerunner, which is the other name for Traditional Pocket Knives on the other side, and S90V for the steel. But what is this knife? So this is what I would call a modern take on the classic hunter pattern. And now I don't have a traditional hunter knife out right now to show you, but it is very similar in its shape to the classic trapper pattern. So you can see they both have kind of a square bolster. They have a swell at the blade well side of the handle, but not at the spring side of the handle. And then a curved butt here that comes down to a point in the front, again, in the blade well side. So it's very similar to a trapper, but just bigger. And it is definitely a big knife. So especially in comparison to the other modern slip joints that I am familiar with. So this is the Jack Wolf Knives Benny's clip. This is probably the biggest, or at least the biggest seaming of Jack Wolf Knives models. And you can see that the Appalachian Ridgerunner is a good bit bigger. And then another Traditional Pocket Knives exclusive, this is the Lake Champlain Barlow, which is a large, hefty Barlow. And you can see that the Appalachian Ridgerunner is still bigger. So I'll give you a little bit of a better perspective. You can see that the Appalachian Ridgerunner is definitely longer, maybe an inch, at least half an inch longer, something like that. And then another knife you might be familiar with from Ridgerunner Cutlery or Traditional Pocket Knives is the Ohio Riverjack. The first exclusive, although this is from the second run. And you can see, again, the Appalachian Ridgerunner is a lot longer. So it's definitely a large knife, and I would say that it is right in line with the size of a traditional or a vintage hunter. So, for example, this is not the exact same pattern, but this is the Great Eastern Cutlery 97 Allegheny, and this is a Coke bottle hunter. So rather than having the curve, it has a swell center on both sides and more of a rounded butt, but you can see that they are a very similar size. And they both also have this kind of hefty clip point. And that's another thing that is common on traditional hunter patterns. So you can see the similarity in size and the similarity in blade shape. And so it's definitely a larger knife. This is a knife that I think you could very much use for hunting, outdoors tasks. And I've seen people criticize the jimping on this knife as well as on the Ohio Riverjack, but I'd be interested to see if those people had actually held or used this knife, because it has a strong spring. You know, you can definitely put your thumb here and use the knife and have this just give you a little bit of traction without it being dangerous. This knife is not going to accidentally close very easily. And so I think that it fits in line with the idea of this being an outdoors knife, a hunting knife, a knife that you could use for that type of thing. Now, not that you have to, you can just enjoy it as an EDC, a large slip joint EDC, but I think you could use it for that. I didn't get a chance to. I have been hunting this year and have not seen anything, unfortunately, but I was hoping to get to use some of my knives that I've gotten recently for actually hunting, but I've carried them but not gotten to use them. But anyway, I think you could use it for that. It also has, like a lot of vintage hunters, a saber grind, so it's not a full grind. It has a flat here up with a nice satin finish. This really well done long pull that you can very much get a good kind of hold on. It's one thing with the original Ohio River jacks that sometimes your thumb would slip out of the long pull. They fixed that. Austin fixed that on the second run of the Ohio River jack, and very much so is it fixed on this. You can definitely get a good purchase with your thumbnail, and you can also pinch this knife, as you can see. So I do like that, especially on a larger knife that's, you know, at least could be used for outdoor stuff, and that also makes it a stronger blade. Now, I don't think you have to worry too much about that, about breaking the blade, but it goes along with the theme and the traditional kind of versions of a hunter knife. I really like the swedge. It's a nice short swedge, kind of a short clip point, makes it very sturdy looking. You've got a nice long straight edge, and then a relatively abrupt belly for a clip point, but a really good looking blade. I've got a pretty good sharpening choil there, so you can use it and sharpen it without having to worry. And as you can see, it comes down to a pretty thin edge. Now, it's, you know, probably not the thinnest primary grind in the world, but again, this is a hefty knife. So it's going to cut well. It has cut well for me, but, you know, again, I think it's made to be sturdy also. And no blade play, great action, very, very snappy, and it does have a stop pin. So, you know, that's a nice thing with a long, snappy slip joint like this. A lot of the times they have blade wrap, but that stop pin should, you know, make blade wrap very, very, very unlikely. And that's even with the tip sitting nice and deep in the frame. So you can use this knife, sharpen it, and not have to worry about the tip coming up above the frame for a long, long time. Now, speaking of using it, I did use this knife, carry it and use it, and it's very comfortable in the hand. I have larger hands, and I can very, very easily get a full 4-finger grip, kind of set 2 fingers below that swell center and 2 fingers above, and it feels great in the hand. Now, speaking of in the hand, the handle here, there's several different versions of this that Austin is putting out. I actually think that the micarta probably fit the theme the best. I think that the micarta versions look really, really great and fit this theme of an outdoors knife or a hunting knife, and just a really kind of sturdy using knife, a little bit better than this fat carbon glow dark matter, I believe is the full name of it. But basically, this is a shredded carbon fiber that has glowing in it. And so I'm going to try to show that to you here. As long as I can get a good video of it, I'll cut to it here. And that is a really cool thing. It's something that I chose this version when Austin, you know, asked if I'd be interested because of that. And it's something that I haven't gotten to check out before, and I was really impressed by it. When you look at this knife in the light, it just looks like normal carbon fiber, just normal kind of shredded carbon fiber, but it really does glow, and it's a really cool look. And that's something that if you were hunting or in the outdoors camping and, you know, you were using this knife and it got dark, it'd be kind of a cool thing. You'd be able to find it if you needed to. You know, I don't lose a lot of knives, thankfully, knock on wood, but it would be cool that you could see it in the dark, and it does glow nicely. So I chose this version to get to check out that glow carbon fiber, and I think that it really exceeded my expectations. It looks really cool. Now, you don't see the glow in the daylight at all. Like, it looks like normal carbon fiber. It's only in the dark that you see it, and it's kind of a cool thing, right? Because it just looks like normal carbon fiber, and then in the dark it's like, whoa. But anyway, it feels good in the hand. Really nicely made. You can see there's no gaps. The spring, pretty close to flush. It's pretty much flush. It's pretty, maybe ever so slightly high, but very, very close to flush. No blade play, as I mentioned. Great action. Very well centered. Just a really nicely made knife, and a big knife that is different from most other modern slip joints because of that. But it still keeps that traditional design, that traditional pattern. So I really like that. I really appreciate that Austin is bringing these modern slip joints out with his own kind of flair, but again, with respect for the traditional patterns. So I've really enjoyed getting to check this knife out. I think it's going to be a winner. I think it has kind of a unique place in the market, and I'm glad to see something like this coming out. So I want to say thank you to Austin at Traditional Pocket Knives for sending this knife for review. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. I'd love to hear your comments below. And if you'd like to pick one of these up, make sure you use the link in my description. I do have a discount code, so you can get a little bit of a deal on it. And if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics. Make sure you subscribe to the email newsletter there. That way you get all of the latest knife thoughts. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.